imitate it, I'd get so mad because he was so talented. He is so talented. And
So anything I should be thinking about? You should be thinking about what you want to do.
So I was going to start with, I wanted to open with that Roman move that I've been doing.
Yep.
A new one for us here is Ele Hamedali.
I love that one.
Oh, good. Okay.
Well, it's in the book because I love it, but I couldn't convince many people to do it. So that's
no, it's not hard at all.
No,
I just had to transpose it to a different key, and then I
Right.
was all set.
There you go.
So those are my only funny ones, I guess.
No, those are good choices. Is that what you want to close with?
Yeah, I'll close
That's
with
fine.
this one.
That's absolutely fine.
And I was looking at Yismahu trying to muster up the courage to do it, to jump in. I practiced Yismahu.
So, yes, yeah. So the only trick to that one is if the people are going to be responsive, is you got to give them a beat to respond.
So okay.
Yeah. So Mekadosh.
Oh, because I hold on too long typically.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's the proper.
Yeah.
This is where I get messed up.
I mean, if you want to go with Vishamru, because it doesn't feel quite right, that's the wrong one.
Okay. I may be a little off on
That's
the
all right.
line.
Do what feels right.
Okay, I think I got it. Test. Oh, you heard me?
Oh, insightful. Oh, that's not good.
And as another little twist, I thought about doing the Isidore Fried Michamocha.
Okay, which one is? That's fine. The one we do much less elegantly on Saturday mornings.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
Can you coach me through? I don't know. Oh wait, actually. So I kind of do it like a little freestyle.
That's all right. You can do a little freestyle.
Okay.
We'll roll with it. All right.
Some knowledge gaps here.
That's okay. All right. I think it's time. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
For all you brave people who could tolerate a Texas thunderstorm, or at least the potential, or maybe one in Collin County, which might be very close to us, or whatever it is that comes along, we're delighted you're here. So we're going to start out, as we always do, with a little nigun, a little wordless melody to put us in the mood, and then we'll start thinking about what it means to be a community.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la Ya la la
welcome to everyone in here, everyone out there, all the Jews around the world. It's wonderful to be able to celebrate Shabbat together. It is a week of particular global significance to Jews because this past Wednesday was Yom HaAtzmaut, which you can't say 3 times fast, but it's just Israeli Independence Day, which is remarkable. And it's the 75th anniversary of the creation of the State of Israel. The day before that was Yom HaZikaron, which is commemorating all those who died and gave their life in order that the Jewish people might have a homeland. So it's a big deal, but community starts locally. And so it's good to check in with everybody and see what's going on. I have a list of things that we should be aware of. First of all, that Seth and Andrea Gendel are celebrating their anniversary, as are the Jacob and Carly Wisniewski. They're everywhere. And they're celebrating this week. And also Matthew and Karen Rhodes are celebrating anniversaries. For birthdays, we have, well, it's actually a new birth, but it did happen this week. Captain Logan Bourne was born this week. Gabrielle Gadan, forgive me, Ruth Chalchek and Adrian Michnik. That's a tough pair to put together, but I got through it. Sedona Tavano and Taylor Compton. Harold Harris has a birthday this past week. Joel Loeb and Leah Ann Miller. And that gives you plenty of time to think of a good and blessing that you could share with us about what's happened to you in the past 6 or 7 days. Who's got something? Yes.
So I have 2.
Two.
One, I was gifted a great rack for my plants in my office, so now no longer horizontal, we're vertical.
That's right. Oh, that's great. That's great.
Second one, a family friend of ours was a good mechanic, was able to get my car done at a fraction of the price. I'm happy about that.
That is, both of those things are awesome. You know, maintenance is such a big part of the modern experience, and to be able to have simple maintenance things available to us, that's wonderful. Who else on this side of the room has something good and blessing to report? Nobody? No? Just as steady as it goes. All right, how about over here? Anybody have a good and blessing they want to share? Yes?
Well, it's not like the past 6 weeks, but I recently had a child.
Okay, wonderful. No, that's good. That's good.
It was 1 of the 6.
Very good. Who else? Anybody? Yes, Gil, you have a good and blessing to share. Or are you volunteering, Michael? Oh, okay, just so it's clear. All right. Well, Michael, now that you've been put on the spot, what good and blessing do you have to share with us?
Nice.
A good curry is excellent, have to say. All right, anybody else? Yes.
I went to Austin last weekend and I saw my best friend I haven't seen in a couple of years. And we went to the LBJ Library Museum.
Oh,
It's a very ominous looking building.
it is. It is.
And I saw something in the gift shop. I'm like, oh, I have to have this. I got a Ross Perot for President bumper sticker.
That's pretty cool. No, I get that. I get that. I enjoy that one, though. Bill Clinton in Little Rock is very hip. You know,
Sure.
the way it's set up. So even though it does look a little bit like a trailer sticking out over the river, but in any case, yeah, no, presidential libraries are wonderful. I think they're fascinating. All right, everybody. So what we're going to do is it's my opportunity to call on Toby. Toby is going to kindle the lights of Shabbat. We're going to be on page 1 for that.
In the beginning, when the Spirit of God hovered over the darkness, God's first creation was light. As we kindle these Shabbat lights, we attest to the majesty of God's work and rejoice in its beauty. Light is a symbol of divinity and creative goodness. It is the outward sign of that inner spark which God has granted each of us. In hope and with love, we now welcome Shabbat with light. I'm going to have problems here.
Whatever technology you feel most comfortable.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotov, v'tivanu l'chadot ner shel Shabbat. Praised are you, Adonai, whose presence fills the world, who hallows us with mitzvot and inspires us to kindle Shabbat lights.
Bless us with Shabbat joy.
May God bless us with Shabbat holiness. May God bless us with Shabbat peace.
Amen. All right, I'm having an Edgar Allan Poe moment. Are you hearing a pulsating machine sound? Oh, thank
Yes.
God. I thought it was the telltale heart, that they're just thumping away there. Okay, so we're just having a little feedback issue. All right. So when you're wearing these, sometimes it's just not quite sure what you're hearing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue with, we're going to go to page 4. And we're going to start off with Psalm 97. Adonai reigns, let the land exult and the many islands rejoice. Dense clouds surround God. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of God's throne. God's lightning illumines the world, and light is shone for the righteous, radiance for the upright of heart. O you who are righteous, rejoice in Adonai and acclaim God's holy name. We continue with Psalm 99, Romemu.
Romemu Adonai, Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ishtachavu lehakodsho, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, Romemu, Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, Romemu, Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu.
Together, it is you who established equity, you who works righteous judgment in Jacob. Exalt Adonai our God and bow down towards God's footstool. God is holy. Exalt Adonai our God and bow down towards God's holy mountain. For Adonai our God is holy. Havul Adonai b'nei Elim, Havul Adonai kavod
ba'oz, Havul Adonai kevod shemo, Ishtachavu Adonai bechadrat kodesh, Adonai oz le'mo yitain, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom.
We come now to Lachad Dodi. Neil and Don, could I call on the two of you to open the door when the moment comes as we get to the final stanza? Lachad Dodi, page 7.
לך דודי לקרא כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. 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 שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור חברה. מראש מקדם נשואה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
So come in peace, you crown of your husband, with rejoicing and with joy. To those who are faithful, a treasured people, come, O bride, come, O Shabbat. We're going to continue now with the Hatzi Kaddish on page 9.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבם,
Amen.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מהותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב במהרו אמן. יהי שמי רבא מבורך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתהלל ויהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו לילן מן כל ברכתה ושירכתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירם בעלמא במהרו אמן.
Please rise if able for the Baruch.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך, המבורך.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aruvim b'chochma potech sha'arim ובתבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור, ומבדיר בין יום ובין לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך, עלינו לעולם ועד. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aruvim. May God govern us always to the end of time. We praise you, Adonai, who makes this evening fall. Ahavat olam. An ending is your love for your people, Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts you have taught us. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and rejoice in your Torah and mitzvot forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life and the length of our days, and then your love shall never depart from our hearts. Blessed is Adonai, who loves the people Israel.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated. We continue with the After. Please join us.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, וחיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Emet ve'emunah. True and enduring, beloved and precious, awesome, good and beautiful is this eternal teaching. This truth we hold to be forever certain. Adonai is our ruler, the rock of Jacob, shield of our salvation. Adonai, our God, you redeemed us from Egypt. You set us free from the house of bondage. For this, the people who felt your love sang songs of praise to you. Living God, high and exalted, mighty and awesome, who humbles the proud and raises the lowly, who frees the captive and redeems the oppressed, who is the answer to all who cry out. All praise to God Most High, the source of blessing, and like Moses and Israel, we sing this song of rejoicing.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקי הים לפני משה, זה אלי אנו
ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד.
This is my God, we proclaim. Adonai shall reign forever. Grant too this night that we lie down in peace, Adonai our God, and raise us up, O sovereign, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, and for your name's sake be our help. Shield us from hatred and plague. Keep us from war, famine, and anguish. Subdue our inclination to evil. O God, our guardian and helper, our gracious and merciful sovereign, give us refuge in the shadow of your wings. O guard our coming and our going, that always we have life and peace. We praise you, O God, whose sukkah of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. We come now to the next part of our service. Again, if able, please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agite gilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Mekonei Hakol, Vezocher Haseorot ve'imot, U'mevii Geulah livnei bneihem, Leman Shemo ve'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Mahin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Moshiach, Mechakel Chaim b'chesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Sohem noflim v'rofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, L'shelei achad, B'chamocha ha'geburot, U'midom elam, Melech memit u'mechayeh, U'masmiach Yeshua, Manata lechayot ha'ol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh ha'ol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'koshim b'kol yom yecharucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el ha'kadosh.
Please be seated.
Yes, Mehu?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's like. Oh, can't see you guys. All right, yes, Mehu.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, וקוראי עונג שבת. מקדשי, I'm sorry, I'm going way too slow. מקדשי, מקדשי, מקדשי שביעי שבת. כולם ישמחו והתענו מטיבך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ושבחי רצית בו וקידשתו שבת. חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. זכר למעשה וראשית שבת. זכר למעשה וראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
You did good. Great say. Adonai, our God, show favor to your people Israel and lovingly receive our prayers. May the worship of your people always be acceptable to you, for you alone do we hold in reverence. And we give thanks to you, Adonai, our God and God of our ancestors. You are the rock of our lives, the shield of our salvation for all generations. We thank you and we recite your praises. Let all the living affirm you and praise your name as the God of our salvation and help. Praised are you, Adonai. Goodness is your name. All praises to you. We continue now with Shalom Rav, and then we're just going to take a few moments of silent meditation before we return to Oseh Shalom.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Ki atah hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atah hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Well, this sermon was going to begin with the sentence, I want you all to think back to the bicentennial. But as I look around the room, I realize that maybe a third of the people here were even alive at the bicentennial. So let me tell you a little bit about the bicentennial in 1976. All right, so the odd thing about the American bicentennial, a very important milestone in American national history, was how weirdly subdued it was. It really was that we were dealing with a lot of things that had come in the years before, and it sort of affected how we thought about the bicentennial. You know, 1972, we had withdrawn from Vietnam, and it felt like a defeat, whether we really want to call it a defeat or not. But then in 1975, just before the bicentennial, the regime in Vietnam, in South Vietnam, collapsed, and the North Vietnamese took over the entire country. So it really did feel like a defeat. 1972, we had Watergate, and so it cast a pale over all of our attitudes towards government. In 1973, we had the oil embargo and the great oil shortage, and we were still struggling with what to do with that. We had inflation. Now that I know you're now familiar with. You've now experienced inflation. So everything was rather subdued. And just by the most important measure that I use for determining things, movies, theatrical releases. In 1976, there was not a single movie released about the American Revolution. Not one. Now, the closest I can come to is that year, The Outlaw Josie Wales was released, which was about the Civil War. And really the subtext was about the reconciliation of Northerners and Southerners, which really sort of applied to the post-Vietnam era. Are we going to be able to reconcile as Americans? So it was an odd time. Now, there were some great moments. There was the tall ships sailing through Philadelphia and things like that. But I mean, the song that came out was written by an Englishman, Elton John, and Philadelphia Freedom, not a great song. So all in all, it just didn't quite feel what we sort of expected it would be. Why am I telling you this? Because I know for many people, looking at the 75th anniversary of the creation of the State of Israel, Yom HaAtzmaut, feels in a similar way like we're dealing with a time of fragmentation. You know, between Passover and Shavuot, we observe Yom HaShoah, and then Yom HaZikaron, the Memorial Day in Israel, and then Yom HaAtzmaut, and each one of them carries their own significance. But what has been going on in Israel has sort of overshadowed all of that. You know, we've had probably the most extreme right-wing government ever in Israel. Now, that's not to say that Israel hasn't had extreme left-wing governments in the 1950s, though the communists never really got to participate in Israeli government until the crisis of the Six-Day War. But nonetheless, the pendulum swings back and forth. But there's some pretty crazy people sitting on the, sitting in the cabinet of Israel right now. And they're pushing forward some very strange agenda items. And as a result, Israel is incredibly fragmented. Anyone who's paid attention has seen that there have been no less than 120 days of often enormous protests going on about proposals, particularly trying to reduce the power of the judiciary. We just saw a counter march in Israel of about 200,000 people supporting the government. So you can feel a lot of tension. And for many Israelis, this feels like a particularly vulnerable time. And people are not sure, is Israeli democracy going to survive? Well, trying to look at it from the perspective of America and the bicentennial, I think there were a lot of people who are wondering what's the future of the American experiment. But here we are, 47 years later, you back there, Samantha, all of you are still here. America is still here. We're still doing all right. And now we confront what's going to happen to Israel. And so I could take a sour and sweet view of this, right? So the pessimist case of what's going on. Well, we have, as I said, a very, very doctrinaire extreme government that wants to do massive changes to Israeli democracy that seem to, at least for many, many Jews around the world, suggest that it's a threat to the democratic foundations of Israel. Israel is sort of struggling economically. You may not be so aware of this. Israel does an amazing job of producing startup projects and industries, but virtually none of them stay in Israel. As soon as they become really viable business enterprises, some mega transnational corporation comes in, buys it up, and suddenly it's shifted to America or it's shifted to England. So there is some anxiety about the long-term viability of Israel's economic miracle. Of course, it seems like every week, someone in Iran in power makes some kind of threat. We wonder whether they have nuclear weapons or not. So the Israelis are very angsty about that. But I would say all in all, mostly they're most concerned about this sense that the internal conflicts of the country have come to a head. So, you can occasionally see a very, very dour article that says Israel is on the verge of extinction, right? The optimist case, on the other hand, is we made it to 75 years. I mean, given the incredibly improbable nature of creating the state of Israel in the first place, 75 years is pretty darn good. And the truth of the matter is also, as much as we are anxious about the economy, it is a very, very powerful economy in a tiny country. It's up there with Denmark. It's up there with Sweden, small countries that have big footprints on the economic map of the world. There are plenty of conflicts. It is a small country in a very volatile part of the world. But the fact of the matter is, it has been dealing with that for a long time. And in truth, I can hardly think of a Yom HaAtzmaut where there wasn't something hanging over Israel, right? Something to cast a pall over the celebrations and things like that. So on another level, I don't think Israel is going anywhere. So even though we can read doom and gloom in the Israeli press, the international press talks about, can it endure the next decade or anything like that? I think I would say that Israel is doing pretty good. So that's probably the key thing I want us to take away from this Yom Ha'atzmaut, is that there's always a crisis. And of course, because films are my primary point of reference for all of this, I recall the seminal and brilliant and deeply thought through film Men in Black, right? Because in Men in Black, the Men in Black are rushing from one crisis to another because the Earth is an international or intergalactic stopping point for all these aliens, some of which mean no harm, some of which do, many of which are refugees from other places in the world. And there's that, I think, pivotal scene where Kay, the leader of the Men in Black, says, "We do not discharge our weapons in view of the public." And then Jay, played by Will Smith, says, "Man, we ain't got time for this cover-up BS. I don't know whether or not you've forgotten, but there's an Arquillian battle cruiser that's about to." And then Kay says, "There's always an Arquillian battle cruiser, or a Carillion death ray, or an intergalactic plague that's about to wipe out all life on this miserable little planet. And the only way these people can get on with their happy lives is blank." In our case, it's just that it's going to be okay. There is a value in using optimism as a weapon. It is a strategic position in a world that is full of pessimistic things. Whether we think about Ukraine or China and Taiwan or America or Israel, the fact of the matter is that being optimistic is a tool for us to go forward into the future. There's no payoff in pessimism except being able to say, "I told you so." And who really wants to be in that position? Nobody. So look at David Ben-Gurion is credited with this, but I'm fairly sure someone else said it first. But he said it in a particularly Israeli context. He said, to be a realist in Israel, you have to believe in miracles. But before that even, the Talmud taught us that, we don't rely on miracles. Let's not put ourselves in a dangerous position in the first place. So don't rely on miracles to solve our problems. I'm hoping that Israel will step back from the brink of this confrontation that it's been engaged in now for about 4 months, and that they will not rely on a miracle to make it happen. But miracles happen when it comes to Israel. So we can also invoke the wisdom of Ben-Gurion, who didn't fail to believe in miracles, but also never took a moment for granted for him himself and for the Israelis who led the country through the first 75 years to be aware of what was at stake and how much it required to preserve it. So let's honor our covenant as the Jewish people globally, but also let us show support for what is now the majority of Jews in the world, all those Jews in Western Asia who have a democracy, who have a thriving culture, who have created a nation of innovation, and let us encourage them and support them in the cause of pluralism and of peace and of a just society. And who knows, a miracle could happen. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. So, who is our officer? You are our officer. Come on up. So before he even goes on, I need to mention, because it's catching up with me before I even realized it, Shavuot is coming, right? And it's next Shabbat. It is actually going to be dedicated to about a half hour of Shavuot services. And then we're going to switch over to Torah study. And we're going to Torah study from 8 o'clock at night until midnight in the tradition of Shavuot, with a seminar of different programs. We're going to have music. We're going to have text study. We're going to have a history lesson. We're going to have all kinds of Jewish stuff going on. So, and cheesecake and coffee, and it's tea, and it's going to be wonderful. So I hope you'll all come out for Shavuot. All right.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. So in our announcements for this week, CKA religious school teachers, have you had an interest to teach? If so, we want to talk to you. Our teachers serve a vital role for our community and to get to interact regularly with our cutest congregants. Please feel free to sit in on any of the classes in our last few weeks to get an idea of what a CKA religious school class looks like, or contact Casey Flansbaum with any questions you might have. Remember, you don't need to be an expert, and we have a wonderful curriculum, amazing resources, and people are always happy to give support. We also have a book drive. So these are some of the headlines that are coming in that may have made the news, like library budget likely reduced, library board dissolved, and what value does a library bring? Tante Violet has asked that our congregants help the Lake Dallas Library. So this Sunday, the 30th, during Sunday school, between the hours of 9 o'clock and noon, she will have her truck out in the synagogue parking lot for book donations. Child and adult selections are needed, so please bring them to Tante Violet directly. When you drop off your children, please think of dropping off books that will keep the Lake Dallas Library collection vibrant and growing. Sixth grade mitzvah project. CKA sixth grade Sunday school class is doing mitzvah project and they need your help. They are putting together a few excellent enrichment toys that are perfectly tail wagging for animals in the SPCA shelter, with all items you're likely to find in your own home, plus a few treats, of course. These are fabulous because they encourage dogs and cats to use their noses and paws to have both physical and scent enrichment opportunities. We know the animals at the SPCA of Texas will love them, and we will be collecting the following items between now and Sunday, May 7th. Any donations will be appreciated. Drop them off in the sixth grade classroom, and you can find a complete list of items needed for the CKA through the CKA website. All About Coffee. On May 6th, Congregation Kol Ami will be hosting a talk by Richard Duncan. He is the owner of Addison Coffee Roasters, the longest running artisan coffee roaster in North Texas. Come join us on Saturday evening to learn about the drink many of us enjoy but don't know much about. There will be tastings of the different coffees and goodies for purchase to accompany the wonderful brews for all who attend. Please RSVP on the website so we have an accurate head count. We also have our Crace and Stop the Bleed training. Congregation Kol Ami is happy to announce another round of Crace, or Civilian Response to Active Shooter event, on May 4th at 7 p.m. and Stop the Bleed training on May 8th at 7 p.m. We are conducting this training in conjunction with the Flower Mound police and fire departments respectively. This training is open to the public, and you do not have to be a member of the congregation or be a member of the congregation or have a member in attendance with you. Please feel free to bring as many friends and family to this very important training you would like. It could save your or another person's life. Please note there are some graphic images and events and parts of the CRACE training that may be too intense for young children. If you'd like to attend one or both of these fantastic events, please RSVP also on the website, just so we can have a good head count. Our Yarn Lovers Block Party is this Sunday from 1:30 p.m. The Yarn Lovers are having a low-key flea market for trading the things you don't want or will never use. You know what? Oh, I lost myself. Let's run over that. It will be a day of stitching, crafting, and making friends. They will have snacks, drinks for sale. This year's proceeds will go to the Denton Community Food Center, and please contact Susan Lee with any questions. And of course, you can find all of this information on the website. Next, we'll be doing Misha Barak. So, and then I'll look around the room if you'd like to add a name to the list. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And on our list tonight is Ed Berry, Joyce Bloom, Natalie Bavino, Marian Cagle, George Cavanis, Mark Davis, Francine Feingold, Michelle Griffith, Molly Collick, John Kaufman, Deb Kaufman, Lauren Cohen, Alex Cohen, Al Landon, Deb Ledden, Matt Levin, Phyllis Lorelei, Steve Mayerdrick, Jane Mobley, Jack Nagrin, Paul Redwood Jr., Helen Rubel, Adrian Sandler, Dale Seaver, Happy Waterman, and Howard Watt.
I'll also add Ken Ditburner to that. Mi sheberach avotenu mekor haracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor haracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
So just as an aside for the Addison Coffee event, I should mention the Jewish connection. That, you know, in the late 15th and early 16th century, many Jews perceived coffee the way we perceive marijuana today, right? There was a whole anxiety among rabbis about going into these dens of iniquity and getting a little, you know, a Maui mocha and a little, joy java and things like this. And was it destroying the soul of the Jewish people that they were drinking coffee? So there's actually a story to be told there. I don't know they're going to tell that at the Addison Coffee thing, but remember, there's always a Jewish connection to one of these experiences. So with that, I'm going to turn us to page 82, and in the semi-random that isn't really random way in which I invite people up to open the ark with me, I'm going to call on Deb Kaufman, because Deb does so much work around the congregation, and if she would come on up. And everyone else, I'm going to invite you to turn to page 82 and please rise.
Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא שמנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, בגורלנו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נותן שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושבי קרוב בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אינו, מלך מלכנו ובצורתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום להשב אותה
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we take time to think about all of the loved ones we've lost recently and at this season in years past. As we think about them, we meditate upon the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. I begin by noting the death tonight of one of the most influential rabbis in the contemporary world, a teacher to virtually every modern rabbi, and that is the Rabbi Harold S. Kushner, the rabbi who wrote When Good Things Happen to Bad People, passed away today. We also think locally of Christine Elizabeth Myrtle, the sister of Ann Jacobs, who also died this past week. Is there anyone else who has lost a loved one in the last 7 days? For Shloshim, we're thinking of Bilma Wacholder, the sister of Dora Ferraro, and Harry Enneman, the cousin of Lisa Cagle. Is there anybody who's lost a loved one in the last month? And for our yard sites this week, we're thinking of Joseph Croman, Thomas Epstein, Beryl A. Harris, Louis Merkler, Stuart Niederman, Louis Portnoy, Bronia Rubinstein, is that it? Rubinstein, and Rabbi Dr. Isaac Yerushalami, my teacher. Anybody else have a yard site or anniversary of death? All right. We turn to page 85, and together we rise to recite Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon, uv'chayei b'chol beit Yisrael, Bagalal uvizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach ve'elam ul'amei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shmei dekudsha b'richu, ve'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran ve'elma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama Rabba mim shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'miruma, uyaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn comfort all the bereaved among us, and let us say,
Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Our closing song is going to be, have a seat, have a seat. One of my favorite songs, but we don't get a chance to do it here often at Congregation Kol Ami. It's Ela Hamda Libi, and it's on page 28 of your prayer book. It's at the very top of the page. It's a lovely medieval song. This is my heart's desire. In your mercy, do not conceal yourself.
Eilech hamed al libi, Husana ve'al nati tatlem. 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 Eilech hamed al libi, Husana ve'al nati tatlem.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.